Hi guys, welcome back to Irish Footy Vlogs. Welcome back to another video of mine. This time focusing on my personal top 10 signings of pre-season in the League of Ireland Premier Division. Now, I'm not going to count loans in this list. These players have to be signed permanently. There's one player that gets away with it on a bit of a technicality. I'll talk about that when I get into the player, but loan deals won't count in this list. So first of all, I'm going to start off obviously at number 10, work my way down to number 1. Remember, this is all opinion based. There's been a lot of interesting signings in this league, in this division, and some of these players may do better than others. Some players that aren't on the list may do better than some of these players on the list. But I'll start off at number 10, and I've gone with Patrick Hickey of Galway United. Now, Patrick Hickey was signed from Athlone Town, where he did well last season, and he can play centre back. He can play in the centre midfield. So Caulfield kind of likes sometimes these players that can play in a number of positions, and particularly between midfield and defence, if I'm honest with you. Guess what? Patrick is a big guy. He's 6'5", 6'6". So another giant to add to the Giants already at Galway United. And he is a player to watch. Galway made some interesting signings in the pre-season, but I'm sticking him down at number 10. At number 9, I've gone for Shan Ganon of Shelbourne. Now, Shan Ganon is the most decorated player in the league. He's won everything, hasn't he, pretty much? I think he's won 9 or 10 league titles, which is a record. He's definitely won the record amount of league titles as one player over the course of a career with Dundalk, obviously in Shamrock Rovers. He was the best right back in the league for many a year whilst at Dundalk, moved to Shamrock Rovers. In the last couple of years, he's changed position slightly. He has played right wing back at times, but his best performances for Rovers have been on the right of a back three. Now, it'd be interesting to see if Damien Duff continues with that system at Shelbourne. You'd like to think he probably will. Now, he's not quite the player he once was, but he should be able to bring that bit of experience to the Shelbourne side and that back line. And I think the way Shelbourne play, it'll suit him a little bit better. Generally a lower block than, say, a Shamrock Rovers would play. So I have Shan Ganon in at number 9 for Shelbourne. Now, number 8, some people might think this guy should be higher in the list, but I've gone for Pádraig Amond of Waterford FC. A couple of reasons why I have him a little lower. I think, he's 36 now. He's been playing in the National League. Didn't score too many goals last season. And I just wonder, with his legs, can he do what needs to be done coming back to the Premier Division now at Waterford? He has scored a couple of goals in pre-season, to be fair to him. But maybe I'm looking at it from the point of, in many ways, of Owen Doyle as well, who was at St Patrick's Athletic, because he played up front on his own. He struggled a bit with the pace of the game. But if Waterford can get players in and around Amond, particularly like Parsons and the new Polish guy, who I'm not going to even attempt to pronounce his name yet, wide, they've got McMenemy as well, of course, but a lot will depend on how they play, and you don't want him having to do too much running up front. So it's one of them where he could prove to be an excellent sign. He'll definitely bring experience to their side, and ultimately Waterford's main aim, even if some think they can finish higher, is to stay up. That has to be the main aim for any promoted team coming into the new season, and if he can assist with that, he'll prove to be a very good signing. So I've got Pádraig Amond in at number 8. Now, number 7 is probably the only player in the list that I actually haven't seen play at all. So he's a bit of a wild card, this one. But looking at him, he looks like he's good pedigree. I've gone for Charlie Wiggett of Sligo Rovers. Came through the Chelsea Youth Academy. Centre back, by the way. Seems to be very good on the ball. Played actually a couple of games under Eddie Howe at Newcastle as well. So that's decent enough pedigree for a young player. Coming in at Sligo, it's going to be interesting to see how he does. Sligo have had this habit of going into the market and bringing in unknowns, particularly from outside of Britain and Ireland in the last number of years. But this year they've changed that a little bit. There was another player I was looking at as well, but he's on loan, Ellis Chapman. He's one to watch too. But Wiggins has been signed by the club permanently, and I think looking at his background, the Newcastle background and Chelsea youth background, and that he could certainly be one to watch. So keep an eye on him, Charlie Wiggett of Sligo Rovers. Now, number 6, I've gone for Brandon Kavanagh of St Patrick's Athletic, a player that Derry City fans weren't too keen on letting go. Very good player technically, has an eye for a goal, good at set pieces also. I think, for whatever reason, he wasn't utilised the way maybe he should have been up at Derry City, but whenever he did play, he was actually pretty good. I think he'll fit into that Pats team, and he's still only 23, so there's a hunger and desire, I think, still there to prove a point. Sometimes players we've seen in the past that were from Dublin go up to Derry and struggle a little bit to settle, and I think there could have been an element of that with Brandon. But we all know how good of a technician Brandon Kavanagh is. He's a very good player. For me, he's best in his number 10 slot. He can play wide as an inside forward and maybe a little deeper times. So number 10 is his position, I think. Great eye for a pass, very good technically. Score long rangers as well, which is important often in tight games. So at number 6, I've gone for Brandon Kavanagh, St Patrick's Athletic. Now, number 5, I've gone for the monster, the mountain, if you like, France Perez of Drogheda United. Seen as a bit of a coup when they signed him from Athlone Town. He scored goals for Athlone Town, was their top scorer in the league last year, and he's just a handful as well. I think he's that type of striker that, he's not a fox in the box. You don't need goals from him necessarily for him to impact on a game. I think he's going to ask a lot of questions of the centre halves in this league this year. Strong guy, but has a bit of pace as well and can find the net. It'll be interesting to see how many times he can find the net in the Premier Division this season, because it is a step up. But could be a very shrewd signing for Drogheda United, this one. I think a lot of clubs that maybe finished above Drogheda last year could have done no worse than bringing France into the club. So he's one I'm looking forward to seeing. I know he scored 1 or 2 in pre-season in the Jim Malone Cup. He scored a couple of goals that were offside, but he was a handful in that game too. So a player that can impact in the game, a striker that but doesn't necessarily have to score. So I think he can be a big impact for Drogheda this season. France Perez, number 5. Now into the top 4. Number 4, I've gone for Trevor Clark of Shamrock Rovers. He was on loan at the club last season, but he signed on a permanent basis this season. Obviously was at Shamrock Rovers before his move to Bristol City, but that's a coup to get him in. Very good in that left wing back position last season for Shamrock Rovers. Was injured for a spell and he was missed. Can get up and down, can score goals from that wing back position also, by the way, and very good defensively. Clark now is the type of player that, he probably won't go back over the water now also. So I think it's a massive coup, this one, for Shamrock Rovers, to be able to get him in on a permanent deal. I think himself and Ben Doherty are the 2 best left wing backs in the League of Ireland, and for Rovers to get him in on a permanent deal, it's a fantastic signing. On to number 3, we're into the top 3 now, and this is the guy who passes the technicality scenario I was talking about earlier on. That's Aaron McEneff. The reason why he gets in, he's on loan, but he's 100% signing permanently at the end of that loan deal. So whereas the other players that are on loan that I haven't named in the list, for example, there's no certainty of him signing, of any of them signing permanently. So he's on loan, but he will sign permanently for the club. That's in the deal, that's in the contract. So Aaron McEneff needs no introduction to League of Ireland fans. They've seen what he done at Derry City, where he's from Derry ultimately, and at Shamrock Rovers the last time round. Good goal scorer, can drift into positions, can play in that deeper role midfield, can play between the lines. So he gives them that versatility. Has been away in Australia for a couple of years, has come back, hasn't played too much football recently, so he might need time to settle in. But, he's coming to a place where he knows very, very well, and he's played football and he's been successful here. He was part of that cup winning team before they won any of the leagues, the 4 league titles in a row, for example. So he's going to come back and I think be hungry for success as my clock goes off again. But I think he's a very good signing, and the fact that, he's going to be signing permanently is absolutely huge for Shamrock Rovers. So in at number 3, Aaron McEneff. Now, at number 2, I've gone for Rory Kinnear at St Patrick's Athletic. Rory Kinnear was fantastic at Cork City for the last 2 seasons and in a struggling team. What I like about Rory, apart from obviously being top scorer last year, he's good in the air, something Pats have missed for a while up front. He can drop deep and hold the ball up from deep and actually become a little bit of a playmaker at times. He can run the channels left and right and he can hold up the ball. So he's a fantastic signing, and if he can translate what he did at Cork to Pats, he's going to be one hell of a player. He started well in pre-season as well. I think he scored 3 or 4 goals in pre-season, a couple of headers as well. So that's a massive thing, I think. Strong lad. He's 28 as well, I think, which is a big thing. So Pats are signing a player here that's, he's basically in the prime of his career, essentially. And I think there's a couple of good years left in him. I think he gives a different dimension now to the Pats attack, and that Pats attack might be quite fluid this season with the likes of Kavanagh, as mentioned before, Mulroney, Keane Levy, etc., etc. So big season I'm expecting for Rory Kinnear. I do think he'll settle in, and I think he'll probably score more goals this season once he's fit for St. Patrick's Athletic. Number 1, I've gone for Patrick Hoban of Derry City, and the reason why I've gone for Pat at number 1 is simply because he ticks all the boxes of what Derry City need. Obviously, we know he's top scorer for Dundalk. He's their leading scorer of all time, and what he's done for Dundalk in the years he's been in the league, first spell, second spell, has been phenomenal. Great leader as well. I think he can turn some of those frustrating draws that Derry may suffer last year into wins, even some of them, and you're on to a winner there. He's a big game player. He can turn up and score very late in a game to win a game. He's done it previous times against Derry City himself, so they know all about him. The key will be to keep him fit and how fit he can be. That's going to be key, obviously, but on the face of it, I think it's an excellent sign. Exactly what Derry City were missing. Someone who can find the net. I think he could score even more goals in the Derry team than the Dundalk team last season. So I'm looking forward to seeing how he does, and how Derry do, and if he can turn some of those frustrating draws, particularly at home, into wins, that would be absolutely huge for Derry City, and he's capable of landing them a title. So guys, I'm going to leave it there. Let me know what you think in the comments. Who would you have in the list? Would you have any of these players higher? Would you have any of these players lower? Who are you looking forward to seeing out of the new signings this season? Throw in even the loans, guys in the loans, the likes of maybe Darragh Burns, possibly Johnny Kenny, etc. And let me know what you think in the comments. Subscribe to the channel, guys, if you haven't already. It's free, but it does help the channel to grow. Hit your bell notification button so you get notified when our videos are uploaded, and please like the video and be fantastic, and see you later.